Welcome to the DC Sports Podcast. I'm Chase, he's Damian, and this is day one, April 29th, 2025, and we're starting with the NBA playoffs breakdown in the middle of the NBA playoffs. Cleveland swept the Heat in 4 games, which was not a fun series to watch. If you watched that, I'm sorry for your time management. Pacers beat the Bucks in 5 games. They won Game 5 today, so the Cavs will be playing the Pacers in the second series. Knicks are currently losing to the Pistons in Game 5 by 2 points with 3 minutes in the fourth. And the series is New York winning 3-1. So if they win today, they will be playing the winner of the Celtics Magic series, which the Celtics are up 3-1 in that series also, with the score Magic up by 2 at halftime.
Yeah, absolutely. Great breakdown there, Chase. Looking at the Western Conference, OKC sitting at home, chilling on their couch, watching these games.
Right.
Grizzlies got swept out of there. They didn't stand a chance in that series, and they're in Cancun right now, which is where I'm at, as you can see from my background. Looking at that Nuggets Clippers, that's a dogfight, man. That's going to go 7 games. Those two teams are going to be exhausted. I don't envy either of those teams having to play against the Thunder because they're going to get rolled up. They just don't. They're going to be exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at that Lakers series, Lakers messed it up the other day. They had a chance to win that game. Things didn't break their way. One of the things that's been talked about a lot is JJ Redick decided to only play his starters and not go to his bench. His guys were exhausted. I do think that they will, going back, they're going to win this last game, this game 5, tomorrow night. They're favored by 5.5 currently. I would expect this is a desperation moment for them, whereas if you're the T-Wolves, do you really feel that desperation? Probably dropping that game. It goes back to LA. LA is going to win game 5, game 6, and then they're going to get trucked in game 7. You had brought up a point when we were offline before earlier. Luka being able to put up points and assists and be elite in all 3 of those
Yeah,
games
of
back to
course.
back to back. That's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
The Rockets Warriors, it's a dogfight of a series. The Rockets are young. They're trying to do their best. Do I expect they'll win another game? Yeah, but that game's going to end before it gets to a game 7. So I do think that you'll see the Warriors come out. Warriors will end up playing the winner of the Lakers and T-Wolves. To be honest, I personally think that series is going to go 7 in the semifinals, and then again you're going to have a team that's just gone 7 going against the Thunder, who are probably going to truck the Nuggets or the Clippers, whoever the winner of that series is. So yeah, Thunder are going to roll through. They're going to be well rested, and they're going to be in the championship, hands down, no questions asked.
Absolutely, great point. I do see what you're saying about the Rockets. I can see them winning Game 5 back at home in Houston, but the Warriors did win both games at home, so it's hard to see the Rockets not only winning 3 games in a row, but also taking that Game 6 back in Sacramento, or sorry, Golden State and San Francisco. So
Right.
we're going to head to our hot takes, which you can start first going with your hot takes, and then I'll follow.
Yeah. So as I said, one of the things that I think that you're going to see in regards to these playoffs is Lakers are going to put up a fight, but at the end of the day, they don't have anybody down low to contend with a lot of these teams, both offensively and defensively. So do I think the Lakers will win a game or two? Absolutely. They have the talent, 100%. But I do think that with their limited role players, especially down low, no lob threat to speak of for Luka. That's one of the things that's affecting his assists. The Lakers have no chance to win the series. However, I do think they'll take it 7, just because of the caliber of their stars. That's my hot take, is that this series is far from over, but Minnesota's they're not gonna get beat 3 games straight.
I agree with that, what you said about the lob assist. The Lakers don't necessarily have height on their side in this series, so the lob assist definitely is an issue for Luka, and they're going to need both assists and points from Luka if they want to have a chance at this series 3 games in a row. 2 games in LA, 1 game in Minnesota. For my hot take, I said that the Cavs are going to be taking down the Celtics in the Eastern Finals. I wouldn't even consider that a hot take. I would just consider that very, very hard to grasp. The Celtics are coming off a championship, and they're looking like they might take a 5-game series from the Magic. And then for the Celtics, they're probably going to be playing the Knicks, which honestly is an easy series for them. They have way more chemistry, whereas the Knicks just got a new team this year, and the Celtics have been a team for a lot of years together with Derek White and Jason Tatum and Al Horford. So I think that that's going to be an easy series for them. But going Celtics-Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Cavs, they've looked the best team all year. Last year they had some rocky bumps, and yeah, they were a really solid team last year, and they did end up taking an L in the playoffs, but I really find it hard to believe that the Celtics are going to beat that Cavs team that just came off a sweep and beat the Heat by 50, and now they're going to be playing the Pacers, who is a very young team. You never expect them to beat the Cavs, but obviously it can always happen. It's the playoffs. Nothing's for certain, but I think the Cavs have an easier road heading to the Eastern Finals, which will prepare them physically and mentally, confidence-wise, and that they will be way more rejuvenated and they will be just way more confident going into that finals in the Eastern Conference. Moving
All
into
right, I like
our
that.
predictions for the rest of the postseason, I want to hear what you think, who will win the NBA Finals this year.
Yeah, to me that's a slam dunk, Chase. And I hate to say it because there's all these naysayers about, oh, well, OKC is young. OKC is inexperienced. They haven't been there. They're well coached. They've played with aggression. They've played with fire all year. I think the biggest difference between the Cleveland Cavs versus OKC, number one, they are both strong defenses. However, Cleveland has had it happen a number of times this year where they lose to teams they shouldn't lose to.
Right.
They lose games they shouldn't lose to. Spida takes a night off and nobody else can score. You know, Jarrett Allen has been inconsistent. You have Mobley, he's coming into his own. He won, comeback play, or most improved player of the year. All that's great. However, when you look at it at the end of the day, like this Cleveland is inconsistent compared to OKC. OKC, I see them winning that series in 6 games at most. And again, just because of the fact that OKC is hungry and they're consistent and they have the league MVP. And that dude is showing up every single night. He's killing it. He's got that Mamba mentality.
And I want to hear also, because I honestly don't know that much about OKC, what makes them special compared from last year, and what do you think is the reason for them making them special and gonna win this year?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chase. And if you have followed the NBA for a hot minute, and by that I mean like the last 15 years, this is a deja vu for OKC. They've been there and done that. They had James Harden,
Right.
Russell Westbrook, and they had
KD.
Durant
Yeah.
all on the same team. Okay, those guys couldn't get over the hump, and because they were all at the top or coming into their own, they wanted to break out on their own. They didn't feel they could get it done, and they all went their separate ways. And it's unfortunate because if you think about it, let's just rewind 5 years, okay? And you put Harden, Durant, and Westbrook 5 years ago on the same team, they're beating anybody. Like, that team is sick. And they had other players as well, other role players. The difference now, this is a young team. They've had a lot of draft picks since then because they gave up Westbrook and Durant and Harden.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, and so they are stacked for the long term. People don't remember, you may not remember, how did they even end up with SGA? Well, guess what? That was a trade that they made with the Clippers to get him.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, he was involved in a trade package. He got packaged up and he got sent to OKC when he was just, I think it was his second year, first either rookie or his second year, and he hadn't come into his own. Everybody saw that he had that potential, but they wanted to make the win now trade, which they did. It wasn't a bad trade at the time, but now fast forward, SGA has come into his own. You got Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren was Victor Wembanyama before Victor Wembanyama. He's a 7-footer that can shoot and play defense. Missed his rookie year because of a really debilitating injury that took him out for the entire year, but he's back. And he's a guy that averages 4 blocks. He can get 4 or 5 blocks in a game, just like Wemby can. Plus, he's coming into his own offensively. Those guys have all come up together. Jalen Williams has come up with SGA and Chet, and they have a team that is stacked at every position. Defensively, they made a trade. Not sure if you caught it earlier this season. where they went and they got Caruso from
Oh,
that used to
right.
be with the Lakers.
Right.
Well, guess what? When you need somebody locked up one-on-one, so when they go to play against a Jason Tatum, maybe in the finals, or when they go to play against Spida in the finals, Caruso's not going to lock him down, but he's going to be able to hold his own. And they have defensive players to plug in there. Everybody has been growing up together. The franchise has been through this. They are at their championship window earlier than Harden and Westbrook and Durant were. They just have gelled well, good coaching, and I just see them as being a really hungry team without all the personality conflicts that you saw. Like, for example, when Westbrook and Durant and Harden were at the peak of their powers, there was a lot of infighting. Westbrook didn't want to give up the ball. Durant didn't want to give up the ball to Westbrook. Like, it was ugly at the end, but it had nothing to do with talent. It
Right.
just had to do with
So
personality.
I want to interrupt here and say, so what I'm getting from this is that opposed to other teams where they will make a ton of like star trades for young talent per se, OKC is more necessarily not removing as many players, but building a couple players each year with the same guys in the roster, which is making them stronger.
Yeah, and what they've done is gone out and filled their deficiencies. So, for example, if you remember, they picked up the center from New York last year, Harvenstein.
Right.
Harvenstein has been playing great for them. He was injured for like the first half of the year, but he's another 6'11", 6'10" dude who plays defense, who can rim run. Like, he's been a perfect fit. So you got him and Chet, twin towers down low. That's going to be tough to compete with. But you don't have to plug him in the whole time because they have the other Jalen Williams, who plays power forward, who's a smaller guy, so they can go a little smaller if they want. Chet Holmgren isn't a plodding center that's super slow. He's a quicker, more nimble guy, more athletic. So they can mix and match lineups. Then, you need a defensive stopper, you plug in Caruso on a defensive for offensive switch. The biggest thing is that they have the only star player that they even started with was SGA, who didn't become a star until he went to OKC.
Right.
So to your point, it's not about free agents. They have built out that roster
and
with a lot of role players.
Their coaches have built up the guys like SGA that were nothing and now are like damn near MVP.
Right. And to me, honestly, Chase, the biggest difference between OKC, the reality, and OKC, what a lot of people are talking about, is that a lot of people are talking about the experience, and a lot of people are talking about, they're just too young and they're going to struggle in the playoffs. They're not showing that. They're dropping the hammer like they did the entire season, which is a good move for a young team. If you're a team like, let's take Golden State.
Right.
There's a reason why Golden State was in the play-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Golden State is a veteran team.
They didn't
that if everybody
get
is
good
healthy,
until Jimmy.
Right. But they needed everybody healthy and clicking, and they could turn it on, which is what you're seeing when they're all healthy, is that they can turn it on. But what was their regular season record like? Who did they lose to? Man, they got blown out by, 60 by Memphis?
Right.
Before the Jimmy Butler trade?
They were like a 500 team until Jimmy came in.
Right. So there's a difference. You can have a veteran team. Like the Celtics may not have peaked yet. Cleveland is riding high right now. But the Celtics are still the champs. They're a veteran team. They've been there. They're pacing themselves. I think that the Celtics are going to put up a 7-game series against the Cleveland Cavs. Okay. But at the end of the day, I do think that Cleveland is the better team as of right now. When it comes to OKC, man, that team just looks hungry. They look rested. They have everybody at every spot they need. They have a deep bench. They got good coaching. The only thing they don't have is experience, but you can get past that with going after guys and killing teams like you're supposed to.
Right.
And that's what they're displaying. They're displaying that confidence.
Okay, great. So I hear you say 7-game series between OKC and Cleveland and
Boston. Yeah,
Boston,
that's going to
right.
be.
And so building off of that, I want to see your bracket predictions. So I would love to see what you think will go down here on this bracket. So you could tell me which team for each section.
Sure. So you want to look at the East? Is that what you're saying right now?
We can start with West and then move over to East. Just build this whole bracket from first round, and I'll obviously click the ones that have already happened, like
Yeah, of course.
OKC.
So OKC, I'm taking the Clippers against them.
Oh, okay.
OKC, yeah, I'm going to take the Clippers. The Clippers are going to wear down the Nuggets. They're deeper. Their defense travels. I do think that and what I mean by deeper, for Denver, you got a really good starting five, and you got Russell Westbrook, and that's it. That's where it ends. When you talk about the Clippers, they got 2, 3, 4 guys that they go deep into on their bench for sure. It's going to help them. It's going to save minutes on Kawhi, save minutes on Harden.
Right.
Also, what hasn't been talked about enough, Ivica Zubac he is holding his own
on
the offensive end. Yeah, it's not that he's going to stop Joker, and everybody knows that. He's not going to stop Joker. But the reality is, look at his offensive numbers. He is putting up career offensive numbers, and it's showing in the box score. And what it's doing is it's putting more pressure on Denver to keep up the scoring. Going down to that next bracket there, Lakers against the Wolves. We talked about that at length. Wolves are going to come out of there in 7. They're going to be exhausted.
7. Okay, you think Lakers will take the next 2? Interesting.
I do. Yeah, I do think so. I think that you'll see, honestly, the next game is going to probably be like an OT game, and the Lakers pull it out.
Okay.
Then they go back to for game number 6, and they're gonna run roughshod because they're gonna be well rested at home, desperate. Then it's gonna get to game 7. That adrenaline high is gonna wear off. They're gonna hit their wall in game 7 because they don't have a deep enough bench, and they're just gonna probably get blown out in game 7, more than likely.
Okay.
Now you got the Wolves going to go against the winner of the Rockets Warriors. We know that's going to be the Warriors,
right?
Barring some freak of if there's if Jimmy or Steph or Draymond are hurt, the Rockets definitely can win that series.
Right.
But the reality is, if those guys are healthy, then there's no reason why the Warriors don't win that. Warriors are going to end up playing against OKC. OKC is going to be well rested. Do I think OKC will have a tough matchup against the Clippers? I do. I just think that the difference is you're not going to have the same amount of rest for the Clippers that you do for OKC, and they're coming out of a grueling series. Kawhi Leonard is still building up. He is going to hit a wall at some point because of his endurance and that sort of thing.
Right.
It's an older team in some spots there. So yes, OKC. I think OKC wins that series against the Warriors. First of all, OKC will win against the Clippers in 6. OKC will win against, in my opinion, man, I really have trouble picking Wolves against Warriors. I could see that series going either way. I see that you already put the Warriors up there, so I'll roll for that for today. Honestly, I think OKC trucks them in 5 games.
I want to ask what do you think is the difference maker for the Warriors-Wolves series? Who is going to have to show up in that series for the Warriors to pull that out?
Well, let me ask you this. If you're looking at Warriors and Wolves, okay, the Wolves have a deeper team, and who is it that's stopping Ant-Man? Because it ain't Steph, and Jimmy doesn't guard him. So who's stopping Ant-Man from scoring 40
It's going to have to be Draymond or Podziemski, and Podziemski doesn't play amazing defense.
He doesn't. And at the end of the day, to be honest, I think that comes down to Julius Randle, DiVincenzo. Those 2 guys who they got from the Wolves, who they got from the Knicks, need to step up. They're going to be the difference makers in that series. Look at DiVincenzo can put up similar three-point accuracy to a lot of guys in this league. If he starts getting his confidence and he starts hitting those, they're tough to beat because it opens things up for Ant-Man. Sure. You're going to have Rudy Gobert down there. Guess what? Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green is always fireworks. And it doesn't pan out well for Draymond Green.
That's going to be a fun series to watch.
Yeah, but Draymond's going to throw him down by his neck, end up getting ejected, end up losing a game, and they're going to end up, losing the series. The Warriors will end up losing that series. That's just what I think. Okay, Wolves were there last year at the Western Conference Finals, so it's not like this is unexpected, okay? The reality is that you traded out Cat and you got Russell. Sorry, what can I think of his name? DiFincenzo, and you
Right.
got
Right.
Julius Randle. Those two guys are more than going to make up for Cat. DiFincenzo hits the outside shot that Cat does, and Julius Randle is a beast down low.
What I
Um,
what I think will be the difference for the Warriors is honestly not even the team play as much as I think the Warriors are different than this year than they've been in the past because this year they have a dude like Butler that's hungry for his ring, dude. That boy is hungry for his ring. He's trying to get I don't know if he's gotten his contract from Miami. Has he?
yeah, who Butler? He got
Yeah.
a 2-year extension,
Oh,
max extension
okay,
from
so he's
them.
still
So
looking
he's
for
got
that
another
fatty,
4 years.
right? Still looking for that fat contract. And we also have Steph and Draymond looking before they retire to catch one more, which I think is a cool mix because you have experience and talent all in the same team, along with hunger for that ring and a contract, so they're going to be playing out of their minds.
Who's playing for a contract?
Butler,
Yeah, but he's not. He's got an extension.
a 2 year, right? So he needs he's still
They're
got
not
long.
going to give him another one on top of that. He's still got 2 years after this season.
Oh, okay, okay. So he's still okay. Well,
Yes.
I guess that totally debunks what I say, but I'm still excited. I'm still
Yeah,
excited for
they
those
had to,
Warriors.
that was part of the trade is that he wanted an extension, and they agreed to it, beforehand. So, like at the end of the day, he's set. This is about ring chasing though, and I agree with you. And this is his best chance. I don't even know that this year is his best chance because, and the reason I say that is that they got a late start. They're in a bad side of the bracket, having to
They're
go
in a
against
bad
OKC
side of that
eventually or
bracket.
whatever. Like at the end of the day, honestly, I think that they're going to be better next year. They're going to be more dangerous next year. They're going to trade Jonathan Kuminga, as well as some picks, and they're going to get some additional help. And you're going to see Golden State is going to be a tougher team next year than this year. Are they trying to catch lightning in a bottle right now? They are, and they're playing really well,
They
and they
are.
are dangerous. I just think at the end of the day, they're going to run into the OKC buzzsaw. It's going to be too much for them.
I
Look at OKC is going to have Harkenstein as well as Chet. Okay, Holmgren. You have two essentially 7-footers against Draymond Green. Like it's a wrap. There's no there's that ain't happening. You're not going to see that is really tough to go against, which is another reason why, just like with that Minnesota series that we're talking about, I don't know that the Warriors get past Minnesota because you have Rudy Gobert, plus you got Naz Reid, plus you got Julius Randle. You got
right.
3 bigs down low that are studs, all going against Draymond because they don't have any other size. So it's a good matchup. I just feel like the Warriors are a little short
Right.
against the Rockets. Rockets are a different team. They are young. They are inexperienced. They do lack a little bit of Like for example, Green, who plays for the
Yeah.
Rockets, he's a stud. Go look at his game stats. He is so inconsistent. He'll put up 25 one game and 7 the next game. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. Yeah. But I do think it's
Until that,
still a great point that you said the Warriors have they're catching lightning, but they also have a hard bracket, dude. They have to play the 2 seed Rockets without home field, and then they got to play the Wolves coming off of a series win probably against the Lakers, which is giving them some confidence, and they still have their home field. So the Warriors don't get home field anytime. And even if somehow they beat the Wolves, which I don't know, maybe it's a 50-50 for
big,
that
big
series.
maybe, but it's
They got to
possible.
run
Yeah,
against OKC. So it's like, what do you do? Like,
right.
they're a
And
great team, but it's very hard bracket for them.
look at that was something you and I had talked about yesterday offline. Is that if you go 7 games, 7 games, 7 game, let's just say 7 games, 7 games, and now you're getting into that Western Conference Finals,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you're getting to Game 5, you are now an additional 20 games
that's
almost
like a third of a
on.
series,
Yeah, that's
fourth of a
like, dude,
series,
you
or a
are looking
season.
at your season. Yeah, you're looking at a lot of games. And for a team that has Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, who are older,
Right,
Draymond Green, who's older,
they don't got that.
they're gonna run out of gas.
Yeah,
OKC is young. They're one of the youngest teams in the league.
yeah, yeah.
It's just facts. Now, Cleveland matches up well because Cleveland is young as well. But again, Cleveland has been way more inconsistent. It's not even close. The Magic, I'm sorry, not the Magic, the Celtics could end up beating the Cleveland Cavs as good as Cleveland has been because of the experience and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the Celtics have not been on top of their game. They have to hope that they turn the switch.
Right. So
They're starting to turn it tonight.
Sorry,
They're up.
just to interrupt. You said Knicks, Celtics, and then Celtics take that over?
I'm sorry, looking at the bracket here. So you're going to go Cavs. You're going to beat the Pacers. Knicks. Man, I'm not writing off the Pistons. That series is 3-2, and the Pistons should have won a couple of games out of that.
Okay.
They should have. They got robbed in the last game. So at the end of the day, that series is going to go 7. I'm calling it now. Knicks, Pistons, 7 games. Knicks have home court, so I do expect the Knicks to come out of there. Knicks are going to be exhausted playing against the Celtics. Again, that's a dogfight, but I think the Celtics come out of that.
Yeah.
I think that goes 7 games as well, 6 or 7 for sure, because that's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Cleveland gets by the Pacers with a little bit more ease than people are anticipating if Cleveland plays their A game, in which case they're in a shorter series going against a worn-out Celtics team that Cleveland should be lined up for success. They don't have as easy a path as the Thunder do, but they have an easier path than, say, the Celtics.
Okay. So going back to the Western Conference Finals, it's obvious that OKC's winning that series, especially because you earlier stated OKC's going to win it all. So who do you think's coming out of that Cavs Celtics?
Out of the Cavs Celtics, I think that the Cavs are going to come out because the Celtics are going to be worn down. Celtics are going to have They have a tough, brutal series right now going against the Magic. Even though they're going to win it tonight, they're going to have a tough, brutal series against the Knicks and the Pistons, or the Pistons, either one. So I do think that they're going to have a tougher road. Whereas, look, Cleveland should beat the Pacers. The Pacers, I haven't looked at at how they did in their regular season series, but Cleveland has home court. Cleveland is a better defensive team. I think Cleveland is definitely going to come out of that in, I would say 5. I would say, you know what? Let's go 6.
6, yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be nearly as brutal as say Celtics Knicks or Celtics Pistons.
I feel like something special this year that's different is like, you feel like the 1 seeds always are gonna like go. They've tended to like not even make the finals, but this year it feels like pure domination. Like there's no doubt. There's no doubt at all.
Yeah. You're not wrong there.
Then you said OKC winning it all, right?
Mhm. That's what I think. I don't even, and I'll be honest, Chase. I didn't believe that 3 weeks ago. I wasn't sold on that a few weeks before the playoffs started. But having seen how they're performing and seeing some of the other teams that are struggling, it seems very clear to me there's a huge difference in not only talent, but that team is clicking and that team is hungry. When you line talent with chemistry with hunger, it's hard to beat. It's really hard to beat. You look at it and let's take the Warriors. The Warriors have the chemistry. The Warriors have the talent. The Warriors definitely are hungry. So what's the difference, Chase? Why do the Warriors not stand a chance based on our discussion compared to OKC? What's the difference there?
Against OKC, I think even if the Warriors, like you said, they're an older team against OKC has looked confident all 4 games. Even that game, they were down, 20-25, I think it was, to the Grizzlies. Homies came back and won that game. I think that's the difference. When you think of a team like OKC, you think dominant, there's no chance. But they proved they can come back from that deficit too, whereas the Warriors, they're going to slow down with an old team.
They are. And as we talked about, they have a brutal path to get there. So older team, worn out, dealt with injuries all season. OKC hasn't dealt with injuries all season. Harvenstein got hurt. He was hurt at the beginning of the season. Everybody on that team is healthy right now.
Right.
Not so much with the Warriors. They're not as healthy. You know, Jimmy is going to be dealing with that
Oh yeah, yeah. Even
contusion
if
that he
they make
has,
past the
and
series, he's gonna be having problems, and he's the young guy.
right. And if you don't remember, Steph has a hurt ligament in his thumb. He also
Right.
has his own contusion on his hip. So they're not 100%. That's the difference. You're looking at health, right, is the fourth factor in my opinion. And, you know, along with health is your endurance. And I just think that right now, teams that are setting up to really have that easier path are showing it. And OKC is one of those. They're
Okay.
hungry. Dude, 4 games, boom, boom, boom. I wouldn't be surprised to see them it would not shock me at all to see them sweep their next series. It just wouldn't.
Okay. Okay. I can see that. All right. Moving on though, to our build a trade. I asked you to come in with your own trade package that you assumed could happen, and I built my own too. So I'm gonna start with a Phoenix Suns and Houston Rockets trade. I think Durant could possibly go to Houston for Fred VanVleet, Cam Whitmore, and a 27 and 28 first round pick. You might be thinking, this kid's dumb. You can't trade 2 years in a row first round. But if you didn't know, that trade for 2027 first round used to be a Phoenix pick. So by trading it back, it was originally Phoenix pick, so it wasn't their pick, so they can go 2 years in a row. I can definitely see that happening for the reason that the salary cap is honestly the same. Cam and Fred, they're 45 M's for their salary cap, and Durant is 52. So very similar. It can definitely happen. And bouncing off of that, Cam Whitmore and Fred VanVleet, they both have team options 2025, 2026. So that provides a ton of flexibility for the Phoenix Suns, as they've been struggling a lot and they need something new. You can see the Durant and Booker era. It started off good when Durant was first there, but it's slowly gotten worse year after year, and they definitely need something new. And I think another thing that also helps this is Cam Whitmore as a guard. He's a restricted free agent. So if you guys don't know what restricted free agent is, that's basically where you are free to look at all 30 teams your free agent year. They can offer you a contract, but if the team you're with, which would be potentially the Suns could, if they match that offer that team gave you, then you have to go back to the Suns or whichever team that you were under control. So Fred is a unrestricted free agent, so I think he will be working for a contract next year, which definitely benefits you guys in potentially making a run this year.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure. Yeah, and you know what? I like that trade, Chase. I think that's. Here's my only question about that trade,
Right.
though. Phoenix is not going to do Durant dirty. They're not going to send him to a team he doesn't want to go to.
Okay.
It's unlikely.
Okay.
Because it would create a lot of issues around the league with reputation. You want to attract other free agents. You want to attract other people that are asking to be traded to Phoenix. You don't send him to a team he doesn't want to go to.
Okay.
So if you're Durant and you see where Houston is today, does he push them past OKC next year or the year after?
Durant pushed them past.
Is Durant the difference between them winning a ring? Because that's what we're talking about ultimately, right? If you're Kevin Durant, you're looking for a ring. You're not going someplace. Houston is not a desirable location. I hate to break it to you. It's hot. It's humid. There's nothing going on there. It's not high on Durant's list. It doesn't mean.
Devil's advocate could say yes, because Amen Thompson's only getting older and more experienced, but that kid is not the difference between what we said, this growing OKC team that's gotten better and better in the past 2 years. And like you said, they've traded those guys, so they have a lot of draft picks. I don't know what their first round looks like next year, but I can only assume they're going to get stronger, and I don't think Durant's going to make that difference. So that's a fair point. But yeah, we can move on to your trade if you want to introduce that.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta shoot for the moon. You gotta shoot for the stars, and if you fall short, They'll hit the moon. This would be the dream scenario for the Lakers. I'm really looking to see about the Lakers getting someone who is a rim runner, an offensive powerhouse, a defensive powerhouse, and plays down low. And the first name that comes to mind, who is at a roadblock for at least the next year, if not more, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay, Giannis is a beast. Dame's out next year. Okay, and when you come back from that kind of injury, an Achilles, ruptured Achilles, people aren't the same. Kobe wasn't the same. Dominique Wilkins wasn't the same. There's been a number of guys that have had that injury. They never come back the same. So any chance they had at another ring with Dame, probably gone. I hate to say it.
Okay.
Dame he's out next year. He has a player option for the following year. Dame is going to take his player option because he has to. Yeah, he doesn't have a choice. He's going to take his player option.
Yeah.
So now you're left with what to go and help as far as Giannis goes. So my trade revolves around that. And again, you have to make the money work and you have to make the picks work. They could use some reinforcements because Dame is out. Because also Brook Lopez is going to be gone. More than likely, Brook Lopez ain't staying around. He knows he can see the writing on the wall. He's going to try and get paid one more time. And actually, I could add him into this trade if I was really thinking about it as a signing trade. So it might be something that I play with. But the initial trade is Giannis in exchange for Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and Rui Hachimura. I can see for Giannis and 3 first-rounders. Now, I think you could add Brook Lopez in there as a sign and trade, which would be fire. You'd probably have to add in a little bit more salary. That would put the Lakers about 10, 12 million short. You could add in, like a Max Kleber, who's 11 million. He's got a year left. That would probably get you close to being able to do a sign and trade that gets you Giannis and Brook Lopez in exchange for 5 dudes that you don't really need. The only person there that the Lakers are really giving up that they genuinely need is potentially Rui Hachimura. But I'll be honest, Giannis is Rui Hachimura on steroids. Let's call it like it is. So at the end of the day, and oh, by the way, that is who we're talking about. Rui plays decent defense, not great defense. Rui plays decent offense, not great offense. So if you can get them to take that trade, dude, that resets them. They get some young talent. They get 3 first-rounders. Brook Lopez, they're getting something for him instead of nothing. You have a lot to work with there, for sure. Honestly, and they could definitely stay.
I like this from the Lakers' standpoint, but I also, honestly, people are going to be hating on this trade, rightfully so, because, looking at it with any sort of logic, it doesn't look like a good trade, but I like it from the Bucks' standpoint because they've gotten worse since their championship, which was, 4 years ago? 2021? They've only gotten worse. They're about to lose in 5 games. So, they're getting 3 first rounds, and they're getting a couple of young guys, like Hachimura.
Right.
So, I can see them working with that. They need those first rounds in order to rebuild their team in hopes of becoming something in the future and a potential playoff team for the next decade.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So I know I'm about to drop a bomb on you that's going to blow your mind because we haven't talked about it, but now is the time to bring it up. And this just goes with OKC. So I have pulled up their draft picks, their future draft picks. Let's just start at the lowest level, Chase. The 2025 draft coming up in June. Oklahoma City has a first-round draft pick. They also have Houston or LA's first-round draft pick. They have a Miami lottery-protected first-round draft pick, which means as long as Miami's draft pick falls outside the top 10, then OKC gets it. Philadelphia, it's a top 6 protected first-round draft pick, meaning that if Philly doesn't land in the first 6 picks, then guess who's getting it? That's right, OKC. That is 4 first-round draft picks, okay?
None of which are going to be team in the game this year, bro.
For the number 1 team in
the
league. 4 first-round draft picks. Now, those draft picks might fall because if you look at it, Miami was a playoff team, Houston was a playoff team, LA is a playoff team. The only one that could be really good is Philly could be a lottery pick, but not top 6. So at the end of the day, could they package up some of those picks and maybe move up to take the number one guy, they could. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you could offer 4 first rounders for Flag. Would a team be willing to do that?
4
Right?
first rounders for Flag. Yeah.
Cooper Flag?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 first rounders. Yes. Then, wait, 2026. They have 1 first rounder, 2 seconds. 2027. Wait for it. They have 2 more first rounders. They have a Denver top 5 protected, and they have their own. Then they also have a first round pick swap with the Lakers. So if 2027 is a bad year for the Lakers, they're going to get a pick swap there, meaning that they don't get an additional pick. They just get the swap with the Lakers.
I'm trying to know who
It's
this
highly
GM
likely.
for OKC is. This GM's insane.
His name is Sam Presti, and he's brilliant. Then they have 2 second rounders. 2028, they have OKC. They have their own first rounder. If you notice, they haven't lost any of their own first rounders.
They have.
So they
yeah,
could
exactly.
use
That's what I was saying. They build.
Yeah. Dallas has so they have a first round pick swap with Dallas. I'll be honest, in 2028, Dallas is going to be hot trash. Okay. So that draft pick is going to be worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In 2028. Then
Sure.
they have 3 second rounders in 2028. 2029, they have 2 first rounders, and then one of them is a Denver top 5 protected pick plus their own. Then, wait for it, Chase, 1 second rounder, 2 second rounders, 3 second rounders, 4 second rounders, 5 second round picks in 2029. So they have 2 first rounders, 5 second rounders.
They can package those up even if they don't want to use them.
100%. 2030, 2 first rounders.
Oh my god.
Again.
This org's a
sorry.
joke.
Let me correct that. One first rounder, 4 seconds in 2030. 2031, they get back to slightly normal where they have only 1 first rounder and 2 seconds. Okay. But their seconds are going to be valuable because they have second round draft picks from teams like New Orleans and Miami. Those are going to be valuable. Both those teams are not going to get better in the next 5 years.
So this is something a little bit off topic, but I think it kind of matters. This is good for the NBA. The NBA has been missing a villain, in my opinion, for the past couple of years, and they're getting one. So this is great for sport that got 1 million less viewers than the NFL draft in their stream for the finals. They got 14 million for the 2024 finals viewers, and the NFL draft got 15 million. So this is only helping the NBA. So all you can do is thank this OKC team.
Right? Yeah, they're very well run. Now, the one thing, and I know you won't remember this because it's been a minute, one thing that their GM has to do and the team has to do, it's great that they have 25 picks over the next 5 years. Literally, right? Like, legit. That's fantastic. Do you know who else had that about 7 years ago?
Who?
The Celtics did.
Okay.
The Celtics, when they traded away Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, when they traded these guys away, they got a slew of draft picks. And Danny Ainge, who's now the GM for Utah, he had all of those truckload of assets. He had first rounders on top of first rounders on top of first rounders. They didn't acquire anybody during that time. They made little incremental changes here or there. Okay, those picks do nothing for you. What are the odds that, what do we count? 7? Let me go back real quick. Let's just go first rounders, right? So we said 4 this year, okay, and then another, 4 this year,
4 first,
2, 1 next year, so that's 5. 6, 7, 8 first rounders, 9 first rounders, 10 first rounders, 11 first rounders, 12 first rounders between now and 2031. So in the next, they have 2 first rounders every single year for the next 6 years. Okay? Doesn't matter. How many first rounders are there that don't hit, that don't pan out? So you can't just plan on supplementing your team with that. You got to do something with it. You've got to do something.
That's why they've been good. They traded for SGA. That's why they're different than just, like you said, drafting up on drafting. They're trading wise.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what they do with it. This is a big draft for them. Having 4 first rounders in this draft, they don't need 4 new guys sitting on the bench. You can't even field that. You can't even put that many guys on your bench. So please don't be surprised when you see OKC package up a bunch of those picks and try and move up to get somebody. Like I mentioned, Cooper Flag. Do I think they're going to do that? No, I don't think they're going to do that, because that team that has that first round pick, that number 1 pick in the lottery, they're not giving it up. They're going to take Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they shouldn't consider it. You know, you could trade all those picks and some to get Cooper Flag. Or, I'll tell you one that's on the down low that they've talked about a lot, is looking at potentially bringing back Kevin Durant. Like he could finish his career in OKC.
Who would you package up?
All you'd have to do is give up a couple of first rounders. Rounders get you Kevin Durant.
Because the Suns, they want something tangible. They want one guy they know can benefit their team heavy. Who do you think that would be?
For who? For OKC?
For the Suns. From OKC to the Suns.
I don't think it's about a person. They need draft picks because they're so over the cap that they can't make any moves. So they need to get back under the second apron, back under the first apron, get a bunch of draft picks, and do a rebuild.
Right.
They need to trade Bradley Beal, who has a no-trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
They need to trade Kevin Durant. If they can make those – now, the thing is, to give up Beal, they're probably not getting anything in return. See what I'm saying? So it's a tough situation for Phoenix. They're kind of a dumpster fire. The best they can hope to do is get as much as they can out of a package for Durant, and then hopefully flip those draft picks into a rebuild where they do get, maybe they tank next year and they end up getting the number 1 draft pick in 2027. That's about all they can do.
And I appreciate you saying that how terrible their cap is, because Bradley Beal's hitting 50 M's on that cap. And I haven't heard anything from him. Like, nothing. Like, it's crazy how quiet he's been.
Well, bro, it was a bad trade. You can't have 3 ball-dominant guys in Booker, Beal, and Durant.
Yeah, true.
All 3 of those dudes are ball-dominant players. They're not, part of the reason that Phoenix made it all the way to the NBA Finals, do you remember who their point guard was in 2021?
And for who, Phoenix?
Yep.
No, I don't.
I'll give you a hint. His nickname is the Point God.
Do not know.
You don't know who the point guard is?
Enlighten me.
Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Paul makes everybody better.
Yeah, I don't know.
He makes everybody better. Yeah, so Chris Paul, that's who they had. He made everybody better around them. So at the end of the day, that's great. He made everybody better around them, but they didn't pull off the championship. But now you got Beal, Durant, and Booker, who all demand the ball. They're not making everybody better. Booker probably makes the most people better. Durant's a sniper. I see how they thought this might work, but it just hasn't. So now they're all capped out because they have a big 3 that don't mesh well together. They don't like each other. I don't know if you've heard, but the chemistry on the Suns is the worst. Like, everybody will tell you, it's the worst.
I heard about that, yeah.
So, yeah. So at the end of the day, like, that sucks, but it is what it is, I don't know what's going to happen there. I just know that Phoenix is arguably in the worst position that out of just about anybody in the league. Honestly, they're really in a bad spot.
So as we close, I want to have some 2025-6 speculations. You mentioned Chris Paul. What do you think the Spurs are going to have to do in order to be a playoff team next year?
Well, the Spurs will be a playoff team next year. Let's just write that down now. They're going to be a playoff team. Wemby will be in his 3rd year. De'Aaron Fox was a great trade.
De'Aaron Fox got
they have some great rookie. They won the Rookie of the Year this year. They won it last year. They have a very young developing team, and they have draft capital. They're going to have a good pick this year. They should be in a place they just have to attract. Like, what would they do with a Kevin Durant? He'd be a fantastic fit, man. Put Kevin Durant on that team who can get you buckets, plays a different position than De'Aaron Fox. He plays small forward, right? Man, that's a good. Now, granted, again, does Durant go there because he doesn't have a chance at a chip? Probably not. Durant is going to want to go to a team where he can have a chance at a chip.
Yeah.
Now we'll see what happens with that. They had it set. I don't know if you'd heard this, but he was slated. They had a deal in place for him to go to Golden State. He didn't want to go to them and give up on his team this year.
Okay.
But during the summer, he's willing to go wherever it takes to get him the best chance to win. So, looking at a lay of the land, who's really got a chance that Durant might push that team over the edge? Oh, man. And because they have to have the cap space and the assets to pull it off.
How many years does Durant have left? Because you said about Golden State, and that would have been great, but only for this year. Because, like we said, Golden State is literally like ashes. Like, they're so old. But like, how many years to make it worth it for that?
I think Durant's got at least 2 more seasons. I don't think you'll see Durant stay. I think he'll stay 1 year past LeBron. And the reason I say that is that when it comes time for LeBron to retire, he's going to do a whole going away retirement thing. Just like back in the day when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar retired, when Kobe retired, when a lot of these guys retired that have been in the league for 20 years, every stadium they would go to would do a ceremony for them.
Okay, yeah.
LeBron wants his flowers. He's going to get that. If you're Durant, do you want to retire the same year that LeBron does?
Heck no.
No, you don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
No way. So that being said, he's not going to do that. So LeBron's going to play at least 2 more years. Okay. He's going to play 2 years.
Right.
And if he plays 2, Durant will play 3. If LeBron retires after next year, which is a possibility, then Durant will retire the following year. But that's my anticipation. But if you look at it, if you took Durant and you put him on the Rockets, that might push him. He might be the veteran presence they need. They might come of age with 2 years, right? That maybe not next year, but the year after. That's possible. Could it be a going away ceremony with the Thunder? It could be. He had a good experience there. He didn't leave on bad terms. That would be an awesome. But to me, OKC has to fall on their face and not win the championship this year.
For it to happen, because you don't want to spend all those draft picks for the popularity. You're focused on the rings in the next decade. You're not focused on a little popularity with Durant. Yeah, it's a business.
Well, and the other thing is that if you're Durant, he took so much flack about coming to the Warriors when they had just won a chip and they just put up like a 72-win season, okay? Took a lot of grief for that. So the difference was, though, is that he found out the hard way that he didn't win any bonus points for that. So is he going to repeat that mistake? He's not. But if OKC falls in their face, if OKC, say, doesn't make it to the championship this year, yeah, I could see that happening. I could totally see that happening. If OKC wins a championship, you could scratch the Thunder off.
Yeah.
There are some other teams. What does he do if, say, he goes to the Pacers? Pacers or the Pistons?
Young. They're like, you know what they are to me?
They're young.
The Pacers are like a Walmart version of OKC. That's what because they're young.
Okay.
They're getting better. I don't know about getting better, but last year they were good. This year, good. They beat the Bucks tonight, and they just won the series, so they're going to the second round. So, yeah, they don't have the draft picks, but they have a young team who feels like they have promise.
Absolutely. The thing is, but Halliburton has been inconsistent over his career. One day he looks like a superstar, and then he kind of regresses a little bit. So, we'll see what happens with that. But, yeah, there's a couple teams there on the bracket. Pacers are one. Pacers are definitely one. The Rockets are definitely one. There's also some teams that didn't make the playoffs this year that those, hey, what? We didn't even consider that. Because the thing is, when you get a Kevin Durant who can give you 25, 30 points a game, it can take a team that, like I said, where does he end up if he's on San Antonio? How far does San Antonio go?
Yeah.
Wemby is going to be in his 3rd year. That's a question.
That's a scary
what happens
team.
if he goes to, say, what were to happen if he went to, let's see here. Well, he's not going to go to Sacramento. What if he went to Dallas? What if he went to Dallas with a healthy AD and a healthy Kyrie? He's
You
played with
saying
Kyrie. He
healthy
got along
and
with
AD
Kyrie.
in the same sentence just doesn't work for me.
I know that is laughable, isn't it? Yeah. Um, but he kind of has some limited options, man. Honestly, at the end of the day, and then if you're
Very
Phoenix,
limited.
they could just go for max value and trade him to whoever will give them the most.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see that because I would like to see him go out with a nice playoff run. But he already does have a couple rings, so it's not like CP3, who that dude's going to retire without ever getting a ring, which sucks.
Well, you guys heard it here first. Damian thinks OKC is going to win this year, and we, after our breakdown, know that OKC's the villains are going to be dominating for the next decade and probably more. This was episode 1, April 29th, 2025 of the NBA playoffs breakdown, and I look forward to seeing you next week.